Hello and welcome to the post-match reaction to the Crusaders versus the Highlanders. And boy, oh boy, what a result. Going into this game, the Highlanders' biggest ever winning margin over the Crusaders was 16 points. And there was to blow that out of the water this evening, with the final score being 33-12. So a 21-point winning margin for the Highlanders in this one. I don't think anybody saw this one coming. Look, in midweek, we know that they had issues. Let's be honest. 6 players stood down for a breach of protocol, including some definite starters in this team as well. And so there was a lot of concern, I think, from a lot of people thinking, oh dear, is this depleted Highlanders side going to be able to stand up to the Crusaders? And boy, oh boy, they did. You know what? Adversity sometimes brings teams together. And I think we saw that tonight. A whole bunch of players here who I think, or a whole squad here, who think felt badly treated probably by the media with the way that they went and interviewed Josh Iwane's neighbours, for example. But the Highlanders didn't help themselves with that media situation by going into lockdown and not answering any questions. So, but boy, oh boy, did Tony Brown was able to use that to really motivate the players. I'm assuming that's what happened anyway. I suppose none of us have been in the dressing room or part of those conversations, so we don't really know. We're all making a bit of guesswork around that kind of stuff. But early on, in all honesty, it didn't look too good. Let's be honest. Scott Gregory getting in the way of Jordan, and a bit of a confusing call there, because Jordan then took out the player in the air, Connor Garden-Bachop, who looked like he'd hurt his back, and he was to go on and play a cracking game in this one. So lucky they didn't lose him at that point. Gregory, clearly obstruction. That was the first foul, absolutely. But you tend to reverse these then, because Jordan didn't have to put his arm out and take the player in the air, but he did. So interesting one tonight. Interesting one there on that one. Good evening to everyone who is in the live chat. Don't forget, obviously, these shows are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and you can give your comments there. So please do so with your thoughts around this game. Jordan says, yeah, wow, opened up the competition. Crusaders were awful tonight. I'm going to have to look at the table. I must admit, I've not got the table up. I haven't had a look at that yet. Because, look, the Crusaders haven't lost a game yet. I'm not sure this really opens up the competition that much. I think Crusaders still going to be sat top of that table, pretty clear, let's be honest. So let's just bring up the table now. This means the Crusaders sit top of the table on 18 points. They're still 8 points clear of the Blues, who obviously play tomorrow against, I've gone blank, the Hurricanes, isn't it? Blues. What was that last weekend? I've got stuff all confused. Blues Hurricanes tomorrow. Yeah, sorry. So they're still 8 points behind the Crusaders. So look, definite win needed for it to really open up the table by the Blues there in that one. So I don't think, look, it doesn't massively open up the table. The Nocturnal Rights in there saying, yeah, so happy you proved so wrong. Highlanders, yeah, I mean, cracking game by some of their players. Now look, they turned down a penalty early on. We in our Facebook Messenger chat, we were talking away about it, weren't we, Stephen? And I'm like, you've got to take the threes, and that's what they did in the end, didn't they?
Oh, mate, crazy! They took their, they took their opportunities. They closed so much of the Crusaders' space down. It really was impressive, Paul. Not much more you can say, and yeah, how important taking those 3 points every time.
Yeah, look, they did get the corner early. I think they left 2 or 3 tries out there in that first half. They really could have been further ahead. You weren't particularly confident at halftime with them. You were thinking, look, it's still the Crusaders are within 2 scores here. That isn't the that isn't the kind of lead you want. Clearly, you always want a bigger lead. And we've seen so often the Crusaders come back in the second half, haven't we?
Oh, we have. Listen, I probably wasn't confident that even at, what was it, 26-12 or something like that. It's, it's only a 2 or 3 try scoring game sort of thing. And just given their history of coming back in the second half, it just meant that the Highlanders would have to play with that intensity for the full 80 minutes And they did that in spades.
And look, one of the things here actually in this one was actually defence, folks. Look, the only allowing the Crusaders to score 2 tries in this one shows the defence was cracking. And look, they missed a whole bunch of tackles in this one. Made 107 out of 129, so only 83%. So not great tackling, to be honest, but they scrambled well and they held out on their line exceptionally well. And some real good coaching there is around how players like Fakatava, Nariki as well. Look, they're not the big guys. They're not going to stop players. They're not going to dead. So let the other players stop dead. And boys, your job is to stand just behind that tackle space and try and go for the ball. I don't want Nariki and Fakatava making those tackles. I want I want Parry Parkinson's making that tackle. I want my Billy Harmon making those tackles. I don't want Billy Harmon. He's the 7. He's supposed to be the jackler. But why not get your smallest guy doing the jackal, because he's not going to make the dominant tackle? I think it was a great some great tactics there.
Yeah. Oh, very, very much so. Listen, I think the other point that we should just mention during that first half, there weren't a lot of scrums, but the Highlanders scrum was solid enough. You know, that's an area where they've struggled against the Crusaders in the past, and I just thought that front row did a really good job. In fact, the tight 5 of just doing enough. Yeah, sure, there were times in the second half where the Crusaders were just starting to get their dominance, but always having that scoreboard pressure and being ahead was just throwing a little bit more pressure back on the Crusaders. Boy, and some big names or some people with big reputations. Boy, they cracked a little bit tonight. But Paul, I don't want to sort of jump to the last 15 minutes, but I just thought there was a degree of panic in that Crusaders team that we were seeing that we haven't seen at all before. They were trying little kicks and behind, and it was very un-Crusaders like.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, Richard Mwanga missed that conversion, which meant it was still a 14-point game, not a 12-point game, which is so important. And it looked like he rushed up. He knew clock pressure was a problem, so he wanted to take it quickly. Soon afterwards, he hesitated making a pass out to Jack Goodhue. Jack Goodhue continued running his line, and then Mitch Mwanga passed it behind him, and it hit the grass. The winning try came off another pass being passed behind somebody hitting grass. What the Highlanders did here, and I think again, there's a comment in the thing saying Marshy says you can't beat the Crusaders taking threes. You can, because then you have scoreboard pressure. They make mistakes, and then you take your 7s, which is where a couple of these came from. These came from Crusaders' mistakes. Will Jordan should have just run the ball out in that corner. He didn't. And you see Ash Dixon, was it, I think, bashing over? Which was, or did they take 3 at that point? I can't remember either way. The try for the 26 points, which was only the second try. I mean, the Highlanders only scored 3 tries in this one for 33 points, guys. 4 conversions were really one of the big things here, especially when those two of those tries were the last 2 scoring opportunities by the Highlanders. So, it was penalties that got them ahead, got that pressure on, and won this game for me.
Oh, can't disagree. I think that last try might have come from Michael Collins just running a really, really good angle. Listen, across the board, the Highlanders were very, very good this evening. The more I see a player like Connor Garden Bishop, boy, what a good little footballer this. And there were some guys that coming in making their first start. Scott Gregory, probably his best game in a Highlanders shirt. It would be fair to say he was very good defensively tonight, but did most things well. It's pretty much what we've spoken about before, Paul. If you get enough guys playing well on the night, all of a sudden you start looking around for a possible man of the match. Whilst you probably couldn't go past Mitch Hunt this evening with his performance. Boy, there were a few guys stacked right behind him who weren't too bad at all. Aaron writes there, is Fakatava the second best halfback in the comp at the moment? No, a little bit early to say, Aaron. We know that he's got talent, but to just come out and say he's the second best player in the comp is just a little bit early. I mean, to say last year we were all running around waxing lyrical about Hoskins Satutu as well for the Blues. He was very good, but hey, let's just see if he can string maybe a full season, 2 seasons together, and then he becomes part of that conversation.
But yeah, he did have a cracking game, and that's 2 starts on the trot now. Lots of people sort of thinking, oh, should he have re-signed at the Highlanders? Absolutely, he should. Yeah. He's going to get opportunities. Aaron Smith is getting older, and they don't want to put too many miles on his clock. Pretty simple. So yeah, no, fantastic, great place for Fakatava to be at the moment. Yeah, honestly, I saw Scott Gregory on the wing there and thought, no, he's more of a centre, isn't he? This is they really are stretching their squad here. But yeah, he had a cracking game after that early error, so yeah, that's was pleased with him.
In fact, he might have come into that centre position when oh god, I was just trying to think who actually came off, and Michael Collins actually came off. I think he slotted into that centre position, and Markini went out to the wing. So, but boy, one of the moments of the game he provided was the stop on Ethan Blackadder. It was a tackle that I mean, to say at a time we were all being tackled to tackle the tackle line a little bit lower, but you know, he went in high, and it was a perfectly legitimate stop, and it stopped the try at the time. It was very brave from the back.
Yeah, no, yeah, he had a good game and used his size well. There was that Nariki interception where I thought, oh, is he going to go? No, he got his ankles taken, or tackled as he came down. So yes, so there's there was some really good performances from some of the lesser names like Gregory, Thomas Manga Jensen again, and Michael Collins in that midfield duo. Collins obviously taken a lot of flack from Blues supporters over the years, but showing, look, he's a decent footballer. Is he a razzle dazzle one? No, he's not. But he's solid and doesn't make mistakes and can score tries, as we saw tonight on this one as well.
All I was going to say is he's a much maligned footballer from a lot of Blues fans, and a lot of it's unfair. Michael Collins was a brilliant schoolboy midfielder at Otago Boys, and I know for some reason some coaches decided he was a fullback. So to me, he's always sort of played a lot of his career out of position, and you're seeing the best of him at that in that midfield position. Almost we missed me to say one of the real veterans in the team is Bryn Evans, older brother of Gareth Evans, and boy, I thought he was. If Mitch Hunt was the man of the match, I thought Bryn Evans probably wasn't too distantly far behind this evening. He was very good, and a cross-field tackle that he made, an important one, is something I'll certainly remember from tonight's game.
Yeah, and what a great player for someone like Harry Parkinson to learn off as well, playing next door to him. I mean, Harry Parkinson also had a good game as well. Look, was this the perfect game by the Highlanders? No. They left tries out there, folks. They didn't. I remember a couple of lineouts that perhaps didn't quite go the way they wanted to, but they did enough, and it was the breakdown where they really won this one. 21 turnovers by the Crusaders. Wow. That is a massive stat. Only 11 by the Highlanders. Look, 10 is a decent number. So Highlanders maybe slightly more than they wanted, but 21 shows that they did some really, really good work on the Crusaders. 4 clean breaks by the Crusaders for only 2 tries. Again, scramble defence and those one-on-one tackles by the Highlanders were big tonight, even if they did miss some in the traffic. Let's jumping into some of the player stats on that defensive side. 13 tackles by Billy Harmond. Yeah, he had a cracking game and also a cracking try as well. Well done to get that ball down. Could easily have been held up in that situation, couldn't he?
Oh, very much so. I see a question just asked in and around the official there, Paul. Should we have seen a card early in the game? Maybe. Hard to know. If he'd come down on his head, yeah, I think we could have. we probably, in all honesty, could have seen a card. It could have been a yellow or a red. But listen, at a time where we've sort of given a bit to the officials, I thought Mike Fraser had a pretty useful sort of game tonight, Paul. We're talking more about the game than we are the officials. Sure, there was maybe the one out at the end where there could have been a knock on, but I think they pretty much got it on the head where they said, maybe there wasn't quite enough evidence to actually see. I actually thought they were looking at the wrong camera angle. If they'd actually looked from the pretty much from where the Highlanders were defending, I think they might have actually seen a little bit more, as opposed from the view that was from behind the players. Beg your pardon, Paul. But listen, in the main, I think the officials did a good job.
They did. They got the early one I said, which I've already talked about. But apart from that, yeah, happy to say that then they weren't the reason that the Crusaders lost this game. Right? They didn't blow the Crusaders off the park. And to me, the Crusaders could have got could have got a card for repeat infringements, having given up 13 penalties to 10 by the Highlanders. Now this was decided by good Highland defence, getting that turnover at the right moment, and basically catching the Crusaders on the break, particularly in that second half. In the first half, they had more dominance, but in the second half, catching the break was against it. Not talking about the first one. A lot of people saying basically the Highlanders did a Crusaders on the Crusaders with swarming defence and scoreboard pressure, but perhaps not as clinical in their counter-attacks. I mean, Mitchell Hunt scored had a great counter, but then kicked, and you reckon he should have passed it to Gregory at that point in our chat, and a few other breaks that they could have nailed, just like that, because I think they left tries out there. So not quite up to a vintage Crusaders performance, but yes, a cracking win, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, listen. And the other thing I've got to say, you sort of look around, a lot of All Blacks in that Crusaders team, but boy, I don't think there was too many of them that would look back at this game and say, "Hey, man, we really threw our hands up tonight." I thought in the main, generally, apart from maybe David Havili, who I thought was still pretty classy for the Crusaders this evening, I thought everybody else, Cody Taylor's side, even probably, all too quiet.
Yeah, and I think someone made a good point earlier on that, not talking about some of the younger players, some of the younger big names Crusaders faced adversity for the first time and got a lesson. You think about players, if we look at the in here, you've got your Jordans, Bridge, Sever Reese came on as well. How often have they been actually under pressure in a red jersey? Very rarely. Again, the Ethan Blackadder, Sione Habili, Tuitui, and Cullen Grace. Again, Cullen Grace, only last year was his first season, I think, or his first big season. So a lot of players there who haven't been put under pressure before in a red jersey. And I think, there'll be a lot of good lessons learned from this Crusaders team.
Yeah, I think we pretty much wrapped it all up, Paul. I've got to say, probably not too much more you can say. Like the Falau guy for the Highlanders, Falau Whakatava. Yeah, we'll definitely be keeping tabs on his form. We know that he's talented. We've seen that through Hawke's Bay. I suppose the question was asked, what's he going to be like at super level? And Gavin Gould, I've got to say, he's definitely stepping up, and he can only get better from here. He does bring some different aspects to halfback play to his game, and boy, how handy they have a halfback that can pilfer ball as well, Paul. Absolutely,
and look, he's one of a group of guys coming out of the Hawke's Bay Magpies that all came through as schoolboys together. So look, don't be surprised if you see a few more of the Hawke's Bay boys come through over the next year or two, and surprise a few people who haven't been watching the NPC. Obviously, they haven't been watching the old Minor 10 Cup, shall I say, and then don't watch the Bunnings NPC coming up. Jordan feels sorry for the next the next team to face the Crusaders. Yep. And the reviewer says that we've had 7 out of 11 away wins this season. Wow.
Wow.
That's interesting. I hadn't actually, I'll need to go away and have a look at that. But home advantage not being so key this year, which is an interesting one that we might have to talk about on the Driving Maul show at 8 p.m. on Tuesday evenings at some point. I think that will get discussed.
No, interesting. Very interesting stat, Paul.
Yep. So thank you very much for joining me, Stephen. I'm going to go away and recharge my my beer glass ahead of the Brumbies versus the Waratahs. I think it is. Go on.
Just before you do, folks, make sure to have a look at our videos. I put up a post today. I went and watched the opening day of North Harbour Club Rugby. Got a couple of interviews at the end. Takapuna with a very convincing win today, 52 points to 15. I think it was. They've put a marker down on the sand as probably the team to beat in North Harbour Club Rugby today. So a couple of good interviews with Captain Shane Neville from Takapuna, and of course brother of Ethan Roots, Jimmy Roots, who's also one of the North Harbour props as well. You can see that on New Zealand Sport Radio, New Zealand Sport Radio Facebook as well, and also a very, very happy birthday to the channel as well, Paul. Very well done. We've got through a year. I don't know how, but we've managed. But make sure you like all these posts, people, and try and share these videos, because it's gold. Really, our aim is to get this guy who started the channel, Mr. Paul Vaines, a full-time gig, so he can just basically work from home, and because we're just hangers-on in the scheme of things. And by the way, these curtains at the back, they aren't red and black, folks. It's more like an off red wine type colour, not my choice.
It's one of those blue reds, is it? Anyway, so yes, folks. Look, yeah, it was a year ago today that I uploaded the first morning sports briefing show. We have posted something like 630 odd videos, or 630 odd podcasts, way more videos on the Facebook page. So please do check out the New Zealand Sport Radio Facebook page. As Stephen says, he will be making around North Harbour and Auckland Club Rugby. I'll be checking out the Thames Valley Club Rugby, and we'll be getting around some others as well. So do check that all out. Happy birthday to me, and thank you to Stephen and all the other contributors who helped me out over this past year, and to supporters of the channel that helped me pay for some of this tech. That allow this to all happen. So you can also become a supporter at NZ Sport Radio. At patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the next game, Super Rugby AU. It's not going to be up to that standard, is it? Let's just hope. We can hope.